Hey everyone, it's Doug Jackson from WordClock.com. Today I'm going to be showing you how we do the LED wiring on the 30cm clock. I've done a few videos of the 30cm clock recently, and this essentially finishes off the assembly of the clock itself. So may as well get a start. There's a bit of work here, so this will be a fairly long video, but we'll see if we can get it all done in one single go. Here we go. Camera where it's supposed to be, and here we go. Okay, so in our last video we had assembled the frame for the clock, and we had installed all of the LED strips. Now it is entirely normal for LED strips to roll up the very edge because the LED strips can only be cut into uniform 3 LED lengths, so that's totally okay. The important thing is each LED, and I'll just leave the frame down, each LED strip starts at one of the holes in the frame, with the exception of this one in here where the hole is close to the centre. So the first step, in fact let's talk about the tools. We'll need side cutters. Make sure that you buy yourself a decent set of side cutters. They'll last you years and years and years. We need some tweezers or some small pliers to help with the wiring task. Of course we'll need the clock frame all labelled up. We'll need to get we'll need our finished controller card. We'll need a soldering iron. I've just got a standard Weller WTC 201. It's about 30 years old now. It's had a couple of heaters through it. That's okay. The tip size doesn't matter terribly much. You'll need some solder. You'll need something to keep the soldering tip clean, so that will either be a sponge or one of these funky brass things that you can put the tip in. Simple as that. So and a screwdriver so that you can help install the mounting posts. So again, from the last video, I assume that you've labelled each of the holes. The reason why we put numbers is so that we simplify the wiring task later. For example, pin number 1, here's our 26-pin cable. Pin number 1 of the 26-pin cable goes there. Pin 2 goes there. Pin 3 goes there. Pin 4 goes there, etc, etc, etc. It makes wiring it up an absolute breeze. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to not mount this card. I'll just put this card out of the way. We're going to do what's called the anode wiring. Now, firstly, before we do the anode wiring, we need to make sure that each of the connections where we're going to make a solder connection has been successfully tinned. So we just get in with a little bit of solder and our soldering iron, and we put a dab of, and we heat up each of these little joints, ready for connections later. It's a simple process, but unfortunately for you in video watching land, it's probably like watching paint dry. I'm going to try as hard as I can to get this clock frame done as quickly as possible, so that you're not spending the rest of your life watching a video. But I will admit, I'm really pleased that I decided to start making these YouTube videos. They've been quite an interesting education in how to actually go about video documenting a project. I've learned all about having people stroll in partway through making a video and then going back and starting again. I've discovered how important it is to have video editing software. That's on my list of things to purchase. The concept of being able to do multiple scenes and to zoom in would be really handy, and in fact perhaps having someone else operate the video camera. The camera that I'm using at the moment is a little Panasonic Lumix DMC FT2, whatever that means. One of my other hobbies is also to be a scout leader, and I help teach kids how to sail and canoe. So I bought this little Panasonic camera because it was waterproof. And yes, it's been in the water a significant number of times as we've been on boats with the kids, and it's just survived beautifully. It's specifically designed to end up in the water. So there we go. We've now soldered all of the joints. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab some of the cable. Now, I'm cheating a little bit. I've got a long length of cable. The length of cable that I provide in each of the kits, I provide enough cable well and truly to do the cabling job. I find it faster for me personally if I use a long length. So what we're going to do now is we're going to connect all of the plus connections, plus, 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 and so on, of all of the LED strips together. So we start by stripping off a single piece of wire, stripping the end, and then tinning it. We never ever solder a joint unless the wire has been tinned. Now that that's tinned, we'll start anywhere on the clock, and I generally start up in the top right corner and put it in there, roll it over, grab some tweezers, grab the wire and solder it in place. First connection. Then the process that I do, I'll hold this so that you can definitely see it. We want the next connection to go in there, pin number 19, so we go a little bit further, grab the side cutters. This takes a little bit of practice. Both of the kids who work for, I've got a number of kids working for me. One is named Lindsay, one is named Kyle, and my daughter Sean, who helps doing assembly as well. They all have a little bit of trouble stripping the wire without cutting through it. But as you saw there, I stripped the wire, folded it in half, tinned it into pin number 9. Into that next word we go. Collect the wire and connect it through. Get rid of a little piece of hair. I'm sure we don't want that in this particular clock. Solder it and move on. Again, measure, it's about there, gently squeeze the cutters together and pull, fold, tin. There's only 24 words in one of these clocks, so there's only 24 connections, so it's not that bad. The reports that I've had from all sorts of people who have made the kits is that for them it takes a few evenings worth of work, and they're very happy with the outcome. And in fact, look, everyone who has made a clock has been really pleased. The only times that I've had people who have been concerned have been people who have not had a lot of electronics experience. They haven't made a lot of kits, or if they have made a lot of kits, they've been very used to following a particular style of instruction, the instructions like you'd have with Heath kit. My kits do require a little bit of patience, but hey, I've had a chimney. I've had a fellow in England, Ireland, one of those. He was a chimney sweep. He's very successfully made a couple of clocks now. It did take a couple of emails to and fro as he was dealing with a few understanding issues, but we got there, and there we go, a chimney sweep. And I just thought that was so awesome because he was such an amazing, willing to learn guy. There you go. I've just cut it. That's what happens when I yabber and work. If you do break it, just strip off a little bit of both ends, twist them together. Always remember, a good soldered joint should be mechanically sound first. Then we need to tin it. Trim it to length. Remember, we always want nice connections on the inside of the clocks. And put this back. I should probably say thank you to a lovely lady named Catherine. Catherine is in fact my next door neighbour. She's currently very pregnant, so she's actually backed off helping with making clocks for me. She is a stay-at-home mum, and she spends some of her days occasionally wiring up frames for me, which is so wonderfully helpful. So without Catherine around, my world would have been just mush. So let's get that in there. I normally use a pair of bent tweezers, but the kids have moved them. I'm not sure where they are. Essentially, the important thing is though, use whatever tools make it comfortable for you. I know that Lindsay prefers a little pair of OK brand wire strippers. That's totally cool. Use whichever tool you have been using or you're happy to use. I grew up on standard side cutters, so that's what we use. For those of you who have seen previous videos, you will have seen a sneak peek of my our new 30cm desk clock, the 30cm WordClock board, which is a great big double-sided circuit board where we don't need to do any of this detailed internal wiring. That's really awesome. The only negative impact is that it's hard to provide that particular clock as a kit, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to deal with that at the moment. If anyone out there in YouTube land has any thoughts on how to sensibly provide a kit so that we always provide people with the opportunity of ensuring that their project is successfully made, that's actually really important to me. I have no interest in selling kits to people and to set them up for failure. That's just not on my radar. So we need a way of being able to let people build the new style kits and still have them being successful, which in my books equals no surface mount soldering. You know, we don't want people to be relying on using a soldering iron to mount tiny little surface mount parts. Okay, so we're at an end point of that wire there, in the bin with that. Strip another piece of wire off. Off we go. Get rid of that wire. Strip the end. Strip the end. A little bit longer. Twist. I've been watching some amazing YouTube videos of people who have been doing glass blowing, and I look at Megan and say, "Hey Mix, I've got a new hobby for you," and she says, "What's that?" And I said, "Glass blowing," and she just turns her little eyes up and goes, "Oh no." Unfortunately, I can't do glass blowing in this particular workshop because all of the smoke detectors and stuff that are required so that the insurance on my business works will go off if I've got any decent flames. So I need another place to do it, and no, I'm not in a position to build another garage. I would love to do that, but not yet. I find wiring clocks to be a very peaceful task. It doesn't take a significant amount of intellectual effort. does take a little bit of skill, but anything worthwhile takes skill. Hands up out there if you can remember the trouble you had learning how to drive for the first time, and now compare that to driving now. Hopefully, you know, your learning to drive experience was a little bit hard, but now it's easy. Unfortunately, we can't apply learning to walk to this, because none of us remember learning to walk. Well, in fact, I'm not aware of knowing anyone who can tell me about their experience. I remember watching my own kids work and thinking, wow, the brain is such an amazing instrument, but that's okay. A bit waffly, sorry guys. Some of you who've seen my videos before are aware that I stutter. Yep, I've been stuttering my entire life. And it comes about when I'm doing something that I'm really excited about. I find that the brain works at 1,000 miles an hour. The mouth doesn't, and I can't quite get the ideas and thoughts out into the audible land fast enough. That's okay. So there we go. That one was a little bit complex. I've actually had to route it. The hole is just a little bit underneath the strip, but we were able to route that. So this up here to pin 6. It's really interesting. People say, hey Doug, especially people at work, they all know that I make clocks, and making clocks is actually one of those time honoured, there you go, haha. And making clocks is one of those traditions which is respected, and people are immediately very, very amazed, especially given that they know me as the bouncy, enthusiastic Doug. But that's okay. And they ask an important question. They say, Doug, how long does it take to make a clock? And I say, well, that's actually an intriguing question. I'm not entirely sure how long. The reason why I'm not sure how long is because I don't sit down and make one clock. Anyone who has ever had to make a few of an item knows that Mr. Ford a long time ago was very, very, very good at understanding how to quickly and efficiently build something. So sometimes the wires fall through. You just have to push that. Sometimes the wires fall through, and you just have to push them through again. Look at that. I did the wrong side. That's okay. Not a problem. Just get in and tin the other side. 1, 2. There we go. None of this is ever a problem. Yeah, anyway, Henry Ford was very clever with the invention of the assembly line. It meant that you could build a large, my interpretation is that you can build a large number of items very, very, very quickly by doing a whole pile of individual steps together and then moving the item along. So if you saw in the tour of my workshop, you'll probably notice that at any point in time there's typically 8 or 10 clock frames that are waiting for the glue to cure properly. There's probably 6 or 8 frames that are in a test state where they're just running a self-test so that we can make sure that there are no faulty LEDs out there, etc, etc. So at any point in time there's a whole pile of clocks in various stages of going out. So I have not sat down and in detail measured the amount of time that everything takes. That's alright, I'm not particularly fussed. People who know me know that I don't actually do this specifically for the desire to make 1,000,000 clocks. I actually do it because I get such amazing reactions from people. To go to sleep one day and wake up the next morning having received an email all the way from America saying, oh, Doug, we got our clock. My boyfriend opened it and he couldn't stop talking about it, and I can't begin to say how wonderful those emails are. So that's what keeps me doing this, actually. I mean, yes, there is money involved. We are successfully staying afloat. I've had to actually create a business. That's okay. And the business has been able to buy tools. Like, we've bought a beautiful laser cutter that I'm clearing off. And every time we buy some slightly more advanced tools, our ability to make things better goes up. That's really, really wonderful as well. This is intriguing. I'm almost all the way through wiring the anode wire, which, as we mentioned earlier, is the individual wire going all the way around the clock. And I'm starting to run out of stuff to talk about. I don't want to just put music in the background because I've seen too many YouTube videos taken offline with someone doing DM's Digital Millennium Copyright Act violation because you use someone else's music. So we'll work on the basis that the only music you can hear is a soldering iron going in and out of a soldering iron stand. The occasional whack and thump of a frame moving around, and me yabbering in the background. Two more to go. Now, of course, if you accidentally cut each of the wires, each time you try and strip them, it will take you longer to make. But that's okay. I mean, we're making something which is going to sit on a wall and it's going to be a focal point of a room for a long time. So spend a bit